Your Heart Song Summit Speaker Spotlight featuring Tammy Plunkett. Tammy Plunkett is an award-winning, best-selling author in fiction and nonfiction through self-publishing and traditional publishing. She is a writing coach and publishing consultant by day and an LGBTQIA+ advocate in all other areas of her life, speaking most often on how to support parents of transgender children. For more information, please visit www.tammyplunkett.com. Mark your calendars. Tammy will be presenting on day 2 of our summit under the theme of Valuing Your Heart Song, Sharing the Message Through Books. Tammy's favorite quote is this: "Don't forget, no one else sees the world the way that you do, so no one else can tell the stories that you have to tell." From Charles D. Lint. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is our monthly series called Sing Your Heart Song Speaker Spotlights. My name is Olivia Vo. I'm here with my co-host Steph Garvin. And we are delighted to bring these speaker spotlights to you so that way you get to know ahead of time who our presenters are at the Sing Your Heart Song Summit. So the dates for the summit are July 19, 20, and 21st. So please go ahead and mark your calendar. You don't want to miss it. So save the dates. And with us today is Tammy Plunkett. So we're going to bring Tammy on in just a few minutes here. And if you're just watching this, please jump in the conversation, drop us a note, tell us where you're watching us from, and join in the conversation via the comments. We'd love to hear from you. All right, are you ready to bring on Tammy?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do this. Hey, Tammy. Welcome to your speaker spotlight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so Tammy, I love the name of your publishing company, Big Sky Author Services. It's just so amazing, like Big Sky. It just feels like the world is available. The message needs to be heard.
Yeah.
How did you choose that company name?
Oh, I love, so I live just east of the Rocky Mountains in Canada. So I'm a hop, skip, and a jump from Banff National Park and the beautiful mountains here in Canada. And we moved here 6 years ago from our nation's capital, Ottawa, in Canada. And the thing that really stood out for me when we moved here is how big the sky is. It's just so immense. And Montana, which is just south of us, also uses Big Sky as their motto. So I would sit on my couch and look out my back window and see nothing but sky. And it was just so amazing. And I thought all of the possibilities are mirrored in that sky. You've got rain, you've got sun, you've got clouds, and it's just so much possibility. And that's what I want for writers, is all of the possibilities of publishing their book.
And talk a little bit about the type of writers that you love to work with, right? So it's not someone that's doing a vanity book.
Exactly. Exactly. I specifically work with mission-driven people who are here to make a difference. I have in the past worked with people who just wanted to see their name on the cover of a book. And there's no shame in that. There are a lot of us who have grown up loving books and just love the idea of having our name on a book one day. But I really want to make a ripple in the world by helping people make a difference with their book. So a lot of my clients are actually entrepreneurs or professionals who are already established and have a message and something that they have learned that they want to share. And there are other people who want to write fiction, and I have lots of referral partners that I can send them to. But truly, it's generally a memoir or a nonfiction prescriptive book that I help put out into the world.
Fantastic. Over to you, Steph.
So going off of that, I, having written my own couple of books, I know that writing a book is so much more of a journey than just getting words down on a page. That it is a transformational experience. I am curious about two things. One, how did writing change your life? And two, secondarily to that, is how do you see it changing the lives of the writers that you're working with?
Very good question. How it's changed my life is really slowing down and taking time to explore what it is that I'm writing about. And the journey that I have embarked on that I really notice is that by writing a book for other people, I'm actually looking to serve other people instead of, whereas therapy, for example, is I'm just unpacking my own stuff. So it puts an extra spin on things. So it takes a lot of my ego out of it. And I'm looking at how I can serve someone else instead of worrying about all of my experiences and who's done me wrong and that kind of thing. So it's helped me in that way. But I don't know anyone who's ever written a book who has not gone through some healing process through it, because you do go on a deeper exploration. Even if you're just teaching someone how to cook gluten-free, like you're still examining your own ego and what are people going to say about me, what are people going to think about me. So it's a transformational journey every time. And yes, my writers also. And so what I do that is possibly different than other writing coaches is that I'm primarily a life coach. I have done developmental editing courses. I've been writing professionally for 15 years. But I also bring life coaching to it. So I am used to dealing with that inner critic. I'm used to championing dreams and connecting to our core values. So that's something that I bring to the plate that's a little bit different. And bring to the plate doesn't make sense, but that's okay.
One of the things that I've noticed in writing is that there's the creative time when you're just like putting content down on the page, and then there's the editing time. And so we're not in this live stream, we're in creation time, and you don't have to worry about whether the analogy you're using is spot on or whatever. Just express yourself.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I am always the first to say that every writer needs to be edited. Even though I do a lot of developmental editing, I never edit myself. Yeah.
It's too close. So
It is.
So I was just checking out your LinkedIn post, and it looks like you're going on book tour with the Beyond Pronouns book. Can you share with us a little bit about what Beyond Pronouns is about? I think you've got a copy there, and how exciting it is to be on a book tour.
Yes. Yeah. So it's very exciting. And to build off of what Steph was saying in terms of there's the writing process of the book, and then there's the editing process of the book, and then there's the publishing process of the book, and you think that you're done, but no, then there's the promotion part of the book. And I am in the throes of the promotion part. Beyond Pronouns comes out on June 21st. And yes, very exciting. So grateful that my publisher managed to get it out during Pride Month, because it's going to help with the promotion a whole ton. Yeah, so the Beyond Pronouns is, and the subtitle is The Essential Guide for Parents of Trans Children. And it is the book that I needed 6 years ago when my child came out as transgender to me. I looked on the landscapes. I Googled like everyone else when we get news that we don't quite understand. And I found that there were two camps. There was the parent who would kick their kid out, and there was the parent who was hyper accepting. And I didn't fall under either of them. And I just needed more information, and I needed to explore my feelings away from my child. But I needed more information that spoke to me. So that's why I wrote this book. I initially wrote an article for Today's Parent Magazine, and it took off. And I got so much fan mail from people saying that they also felt that way. So I knew there was a need in the market for this topic. And yeah, so that's what the book is about. The book tour is I'm doing author appearances in Calgary and in Toronto. I'm speaking at Toronto Pride with my trans son, which is amazing. We both get to share the stage. And I'll be on some television shows. I was on The Doctors, which is an American television show in May, and I will be on The Marilyn Dennis Show, which is Canada's Oprah, and The Social, which is Canada's version of The View. So exciting times.
That's exciting.
Was your trans son part of that process and part of the book writing process and like giving input?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
Oh, your trans son, was he part of that process and providing input and?
Yeah, so he wrote the foreword to the book, but even right before writing the foreword, he was part of. I mean, the truth of the matter is, I've always been a writer. My children have always known me as a writer, so it was natural for everyone to know that I would want to write. And I started writing it as a memoir for me to process my emotions as well. And as I was writing, Mitchell would say, I want to read it. I want to read it. And it was a way for us to connect as well, because he wanted to understand what I was going through. And I would ask him questions about how he was dealing with things. So he read every chapter and kept championing me and asking for more. So that made me write more. And he's been definitely part of the process.
Mm.
What an amazing legacy, and that you'll be able to be part of like the Pride, celebration this month and sharing the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Tammy, I'm curious. I know you have two children, and they each identify differently. I know with my own children, my daughter came out as bisexual 5 years ago, and when she did, neither I nor my wife were incredibly accepting of her coming out in that way. Even though I've been, my dad was gay. I mean, it's not like this new world that I've had a lot of resistance to, at least not that I thought that I had a lot of resistance to. But then when my child came out, and it just changed my whole perspective as and expectations as to what life was going to look like for her. And then when my uh, non-binary child, who was, what is the initials? I don't remember. I get so confused with the AFAB or whatever.
Oh, assigned male at birth or assigned female at birth.
Right. Anyway, she was on her birth certificate. It is she, but after my daughter came out, then Joy came out, and the name changed from Carolyn, their first given name, to Joy, their middle name, and there was that transition, and then there was a transition from she, her to they, them, and most recently is my own transition from Steve to Steph and so forth. Um, one of the things that I'm curious about is just like kind of what was the trajectory or the chronology in your life, and how did that evolution show up and inform what you put out in the book?
Yes. So great question. I actually have 4 kids, and all 4 of them identify as gender diverse or sexuality diverse. So it's quite interesting. And I also have since learned that my dad actually performed drag in the 1960s before it was cool. And we unfortunately he has passed and we don't know all of his secrets, but I do believe that there is some diversity there as well for my dad. But my children, my oldest and second oldest came out as bisexual quite young. Well, young, quite a few years ago. So I would say in their middle teens, late teens. And we were accepting of that. They mainly dated men anyways, just because the pool is larger. And it didn't really matter, even if they dated girls. It's no big deal. And then my third child came out as transgender, and that was the first gender difference in our family. And so that was something that we all unpacked. And then my oldest child came out as non-binary. And that was, and I do believe, and Steph, I'm sure that you can relate to this, is when you have someone in the family dare to say, this is who I am, it makes all of us pause and reflect on, am I really who I am? Like, do I know myself enough to say that I am truly a girl, or I am just putting on the role of a girl because I was assigned female at birth? And so I think everyone in the family unpacked our identity a little bit. And I, after all of that, so because I'm part of the community and I volunteer quite a bit in this community, I've met many trans people. And a very good friend of mine is a trans woman, and her wife decided to stay married to her, and all is well. And I thought to myself, what would I do if my husband came out and said that he was trans? And then I had to examine my sexuality, and I would 100% stay with my husband. So that makes me pansexual. Like, I am not as straight as I think I am. And so, yeah, I think it's a great, I mean, it is very difficult in the beginning as a parent to have your child come forward with this information. There's a lot to unpack in terms of, do they need medication for the rest of their life? The legal name changes. Like, there's a lot of stuff and it can be scary too. Um, but uh, but there are lots of gifts, and one of those gifts is that everybody truly examines themselves again and makes sure that we are who we are meant to be, and that um, we're not putting on a role just because it was given to us.
Yes. And your comment about your dad reminded me of my own experience where dad came out for and my parents got divorced, I don't know, gosh, early 90s. And then shortly thereafter got remarried. So dad was out as gay, but then went right back to his traditional lifestyle. But in doing so, it wasn't like he resolved everything. There was still so much tension between my parents, and so much that was undisclosed, untalked about. And I think it was partly just generational. I looked at my children, and I just learned so much from them, and kind
Yeah.
of exploring who they are and how they're expressing themselves, and so forth. And then I look at my dad, and how closed down he was in so many ways. uh, and one of the things that I wish more than anything is just that that I could have conversations with dad, because dad died roughly about the same time that my he died before my daughter came out and before all this stuff started opening up. So I never had the conversations with him about what was going on, and never had his perspective. And so it was really the thing that I appreciate about writing the books like you are writing, and sharing the story, and having that family discussion, is that when it is out and you can talk about it, then you can do something about it. But if it's all kept in the closet, then
Mm-hmm.
there's not much you can do about it. You just deal with the side effects of
Yeah.
the situation rather than the real situation itself.
So true. So true. Yeah.
Yeah, Irma's just tuning in. So, hello, Irma. Thank you so much for watching. I think Irma had reached out to you too, Tam, at one point for some assistance for the
I
transgender team.
yes. Irma and I would go in the same networking circles. So we've met in the past, and she's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Wonderful. And can you talk a little bit about, the pause, right? Because we catch ourselves. Like I catch myself because I'm so used to calling Steve, Steve, and now I'm like, oh, nope, Stefan,
Yeah.
and using Zim. And so talk about that where we have to catch ourselves in that pause.
And that pause is the gift, is really, it's where we take the time to truly think about what pronoun we need to use. And it's so easy to just be blinded and go through life and just, he, her, and not actually stop and think of the person that we're truly referring to. So while it's embarrassing to use the wrong pronoun and to get hung up on feeling guilty about it, or is angry about the challenge of it, it's better to look at the gift of it. And the gift of it is really slowing down. And it is that pause. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I think it's Viktor Frankl who says, that the gift is in the pause between action and reaction. And I think it's the same with choosing the right pronoun, is just to slow down and truly look at the person and think about who you're addressing.
And we live in a non-binary world nowadays.
Yes, thank goodness. The world, growing up in the 80s, everything was, binary. You were gay or straight, you were a man or a woman, and you were right or wrong. And I think the right and wrong, and there's so much bucking against that today, this openness and the grayness of experience in life. So letting go of right and wrong, and letting go of he and him and she and her, and just finding that gray area in the middle is so cool. And there's so much more stories that can be told from that place.
So how does this all tie into your heart song? So you've been invited to speak at the Sing Your Heart Song Summit. So this work with advocacy, book publishing, beyond pronouns, how does this all tie in with your heart song?
Well, my heart song is, I used to think that it was to give women a voice. And this was obviously before Mitchell came out. And now I'm realizing it's more than just women, it's giving the disenfranchised a voice. And this has always been what's driven me. And when I look back at everything that I've done in terms of advocacy work and volunteer work and work, it's really always been about making sure that the smallest voice gets heard, because their voice matters too. And I that's why I help people write books, and that's why I help them choose the publishing path for themselves as well, is to amplify their voice. And that spills into my advocacy work. It spills into, I wrote this book to give parents a voice, not only to share mine, but to help parents understand that they matter in this equation. If a child comes forward as transgender, the parent has to buy the new clothes. The parent has to use the new pronouns. The parent has to change the name at school. The parent has to tell grandma, and so these are all big steps in the parent's life. So I did not hear the voice of parents in the media, so I'm giving parents a voice.
One of the most poignant experiences I had with my daughter was just recently asking her about her experience in coming out as bisexual. And her response was that was such a hard year for her. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just coming out, because if she'd actually come out at school years before, but to her parents, she came out. And the thing that really struck me was even though we didn't necessarily give, I mean, we gave some voice to it, but we didn't give as much voice as we could, and certainly weren't as supportive as we could have been. So even when we don't give voice to uh, what is happening, even if we're not supportive, we're still giving voice. We're still having an impact upon our children, upon the community and the world at large. That if we
Mhm.
can just open up and be willing not only to express ourselves but also to listen and to receive, you know, I think the world would be so much better.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things that I teach my writing clients a lot is the balance between when you say speak and listen. That brought forward to me when I'm teaching writers to write. I tell them that they need to learn to write and read the way we breathe, especially
Mm.
when we do deep breathing. Because if we write, or talk, and not listen, we're not getting anywhere. And we need to be able to absorb what's going on around us and use that to inform our writing. So I actually use box breathing. I say, you inhale for 5, you hold for 2, you exhale for 7, you hold for 2. And so I say, now relate that to your listening and your reading. So you take in information, you listen to what your audience needs to know, you listen to other people's experiences, you take webinars and workshops and learn skills, but then you have to hold to process it. And then you do your writing. And so it's 5 for inhalation and 7 for exhalation. So you do need to get some writing done. You can't just read and take webinars forever. You do have to do the writing. And then you let the writing sit so that you can come back to it with fresh eyes.
Mm.
So I use that a lot with my writing coaching clients. But now that I'm speaking with you, Steph, I'm thinking maybe I need to talk about it that way with my parents of trans kids, and maybe even reverse it. Like, talk to your kids for a count of 5, let it sit, and then listen to them for a count of 7, because I think it is so important that we listen to our community and the children, so that we know and we understand what they're saying, and then give that a pause too. So yeah, I like that. You
Yeah.
just gave me something.
See? You never know what's going to hit you during the live stream to
Yes.
inspiration. So everybody should be on this live stream. But I have never considered the box breathing method in that way. But how cool is that? That you just apply
Yeah.
it to speaking and listening and holding that space.
Yes. Yes. Allowing things to process. And that goes back to that breath break when you're using someone's pronouns. It's giving that little bit of space of time to make sure that you're being intentional
And being present.
and being present. Yeah.
Mm.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. This is a preview. This is just a preview of the amazing Tammy Plunkett. Can you imagine what sitting down with her during a summit presentation is going to be like? So we encourage you. The link is below. It's active. Go ahead and register. Grab your ticket today so you can join us on Sing Your Heart Song Summit. Tammy's going to be presenting again on day 2, which is valuing your heart song, whatever that may be, and how to get that message out through books. So thank you, Tammy, so much for being a part of our Sing Your Heart Song Speaker Spotlight today.
Well, thanks so much for having me. This has been fun.
Yes. And so if you are a mission-driven author, please reach out to Tammy. And so she loves to work with disenfranchised, marginalized groups. And so if you have a book idea, please reach out to her. This is her company website right here, bigskyauthorservices.com. And of course, please reach out to her on our Facebook page, her author page. There it is on the screen. And then, of course, on LinkedIn.
Great.
So go ahead and connect with Tammy. Get to know her ahead of time. Don't just wait for the summit. The summit is still a whole month away, so don't wait. Connect now. That's what we'd love to encourage all of you to do as part of our marketing for the summit, right? So it gives you a chance to know who the speakers are, get to know a little bit about their work, connect with them ahead of time and network with them before you attend the event. All right, so this wraps up another speaker spotlight. Thank you so much, Tammy. Thank you, Steph, for being on here and co-hosting this with me too.
Thanks for having me.
All right, have a fantastic day. And thank you, Irma. Thank you, Irma, for tuning in and chiming in there and referring Tammy over to us. And of course, thank you to all of you who are watching this. Keep the conversation going. What are your thoughts about this non-binary world? What are your thoughts about pronouns? So keep the conversation going if you're watching this on replay, #replay. See you guys all soon. We did it, Steve. You rock. All right, I'm going to play our outro song. Here we go.